There we go. Sorry about that. I actually had to unmute myself. I didn't realize I was unmuted. So right now I'm in South Africa, so I'm talking a little quietly because Mena is sleeping, but I couldn't be with you on the different meetings, but I wanted to share with you some different things to help you get to the next level. Obviously, this is the time of year that we actually start talking about obviously goal setting for the next year. So we've been talking about obviously making the rest of the year the best of the year. So let me share my screen here real quick, and then we can talk a little bit more about this. So the big thing that when we talk about obviously the goals here is to help people, to get to the next level. But the most important thing we talk to people about obviously is, finishing the year strong. Our pastor said at the beginning of this year, he said that the 2024 is the year of the fulfillment of the promises of God to you personally. And that has happened for us. But we actually wrote goals down in actually 2023 to help accomplish what we want to do in 2024. And I was going through these last night. I was blown away by how many of the goals that we hit. I mean, like big goals that we hit, which is pretty amazing. So the one thing that we want to talk about, obviously the rest of the year being the best of the year. But the other part that we talk about is obviously getting your business launched in a big way. So 2025 can be your best year ever and then growing, from there. So we've talked about this before, but where do you want to be by December 31st, 2024? You pick a date. You fill this in for whatever it is that you want. But right now, being obviously December 8th, we're looking at, obviously the next 3 weeks being very, very, strong. And we're going to be finishing the year very, very strong. So I'm going to play a video real quick.
Hello there and welcome.
There we go. I'm going to play a video real quick. Actually, Bob Proctor actually has a video that talks about not only setting goals, but making decisions. So I'm going to play this. It's about an 8-minute video, and then we're going to get back to the slides and talk a little bit more about, once again, setting goals for next year and how to set them up properly so that you accomplish the goals and obviously celebrate this next year. It's going to be pretty awesome.
Hello there and welcome. I'm Bob Proctor. I want to talk to you about forming a habit that'll literally change your world. I formed this habit a long time ago, and I'm going to tell you, my world changed like night and day. Work for me, it'll work for you. But before we get into it, I want you to come back in history with me to September the 12th, 1962.
For the eyes of the world now look into space, to the moon, and to the planets beyond. Our leadership in science and industry, our hopes for peace and security, our obligations to ourselves as well as others, all require us to make this effort, to solve these mysteries, to solve them for the good of all men. There is no strife, no prejudice, no national conflict in outer space as yet. Its hazards are hostile to us all. Its conquest deserves the best of all mankind. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win.
Do you know what John Kennedy did there? Made a decision. That was a decision. It was a big decision, and it changed everything forever. Well, do you know, decision is something most people never really learn, and for good reason. Stay with me, because I'm going to show you something here that you possibly have never looked at before. This book changed everything for me. In this book, it's Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. There's 15 chapters. There's one chapter, the entire chapter is dedicated to decision. Now you may say, well, I make decisions. Do you really? You may make little ones, but you make the real important ones. Do you go after what you want in life? Do you get everything you want in life? See, the truth is only about 3% of the people are really living the way they want to live, driving the car they want to drive, taking the trips they want to take, living in the houses they want to live in. Most people do not, and they'll tell you why they can't, and they'll give you a string of reasons a mile long. All seem very practical, very reasonable, and the leader of them all is they can't afford it. Well, the truth is we live in the richest country in the history of the world. Money is the easiest thing in the world to earn once you learn how. Well, if you turn making a decision into a habit, you're going to learn how to do a whole lot of things you may think you can't do. See, what we're doing is we're exploring a side of our personality that we really don't understand. Now, I photographed a page out of here. Napoleon Hill said, those who reach decisions promptly and definitely know what they want, and they generally get it. The leaders in every walk of life decide quickly and firmly. That's the major reason why they're leaders. He said the world is a habit of making room for the man or woman whose words and actions show they know where they're going. And he went on to explain why we have difficulty here, for very good reason. Indecision is a habit, which usually begins in youth. The habit takes on permanency as the youth goes through grade school, high school, and eventually through college without any definite purpose. The major weakness of all educational systems is they neither teach nor encourage the habit of definite decision. Now, why is that? Well, the truth is, most people really don't know. We're dealing with a side of our personality that most people do not understand. What you see here is not me. This is my body. You never hear anyone say, am hand. You see, we've got to take a look at the non-physical side of ourselves. President Lincoln put that very well. He said, to believe in the things you can see and touch is no belief at all. But to believe in the unseen is a triumph and a blessing. Well, let's look at this. Making a decision, we're going into the unseen part of ourselves, using faculties most people don't even know they've got. You see, Einstein said the intuitive mind is a sacred gift. Well, he said the rational mind is a faithful servant. He said we have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. What is a servant? Well, there it is there. It's our sensory factors. We can see, hear, smell, taste, touch. What are they for? They're to help us correspond and communicate with our outside world. But you know that the physical world is nothing but the manifestation of the non-physical world. That's right. Here we've got something that's nothing short of a miracle when we look at it properly. This is a little cell phone. It has more power than the computer had that took the first rocket to the moon. Think of that. And I'm carrying it around in my pocket. I can touch a button and bang, like that, send a picture to you, and you'll get it simultaneous with me sending it. How does all that happen? Well, it happens because we're dealing with the non-physical side of ourselves. We're dealing with just pure power. How do we get at that? Well, we've been gifted. We've been gifted with something no other form of animal life has. We have these higher faculties. You've got perception, memory, imagination, will, reason, intuition. I want you to shift your perception for a moment of yourself. You know, our good friend, the late Wayne Dyer, he put it very well. He said, when you change the way you look at something, what you look at will change. Change your perception. Do you know the reason most people don't make decisions? Because they can't see how they're going to get there. So what do? They keep doing things that they can see how they're going to get there. And that's why their life never really changes. Stick with me here for a moment. Think of you. You are a mass of energy and you function on frequencies. That's what you are. Take a look at yourself. Here's a shot taken by Kirlian photography. Semyon Kirlian was a Russian who perfected a form of photography way back in the early 30s that'll photograph mass where you can photograph the energy leaving the body. There's a glow of energy around you. This physical thing we live in is a mass of energy. Well, we're going to be talking about the non-physical side. You see, a frequency is a level of vibration. Do you know vibration is a natural law of the universe? Everything vibrates, nothing rests. We live in an ocean of motion. Now, there's an infinite number of frequencies. Now get this. Let all these lines represent levels of vibration, okay? Levels of vibration, as we said, are referred to as frequencies. You and I think on frequencies, the highest function we're capable of. Now here's where you really want to pay attention. This, if you get this, if I communicate this effectively, your life can change, because it sure changed mine. We think on a frequency, and the frequency we think on dictates the results we get. So we're sitting here and they say, these are my results, but this is where I really want to go, and we point to a star. Somebody said, what do you really want? I really want to be wealthy. Do you know that most people never live the way they really want to live? They don't. They never earn the amount of money they can. They don't live in the house they really want to live in. They don't take the vacations they really want to take. Why? Because they don't know how. You see, when they set those targets, they look off into a space and they see nothing. Now look here for a moment. These lines represent levels of frequency, or you could say levels of awareness. But when we set the target way up there, it's all gone. We don't know how to get there. Think of that. Think of what Steve Jobs says. You cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots are going to connect as you go ahead. Now that's pretty big. If you're going to look at the unseen, you have to use the higher faculties. That's what Einstein talked about, the sacred gift. We can use faculties to look into the future. We can go into the future with our imagination and see ourselves where we want to be a year from now, and then bring that into the present and begin acting like the person we want to become. So let's go back and look at this again. We'll say, that's where I want to go, and I'm going to get there. Now, we do make decisions, but then we say, not going to start yet. I'm going to do that as soon as I get the money. I talked to a young couple. In fact, I wrote about them in a book, Pat and John. I sat with them in a hotel in Toronto, and they said they wanted to buy a house. And I said, well, go on out and buy one. We said, we can't buy a house. We haven't got any money. I said, you don't need any money. They looked at me rather strange. I said, what do you need the money for? You haven't made the decision to buy the house. You see, you don't need the money until after you make the decision. Person say, I want to take a trip, and I'm going to go as soon as I get the money. You don't need the money to make the decision to take the trip. I'm going to start my own business as soon as everything's right. Things are never going to be right. You've got to make a decision. Now, you see, when you make the decision, everything starts to change. Look at this for a moment. You're thinking down here on this frequency, and that's what's giving you the results you're getting. If you want to go where you say you want to go, you've got to get on that frequency. You see, the truth is, you're not thinking about getting there. You're letting the present results repeat, and that's the star you're shooting at. You're going to get the same results over and over and over again as long as you keep your thinking there. You've got to get your thinking up on this higher frequency. Because when you get on that frequency, the thoughts and things that are going to come into your mind will take you there. How do you think we got to the moon? Kennedy didn't know how to get to the moon. When he asked Dr. Wernher von Braun, who's considered the father of the space program, what will it take for us to build a rocket, carry a man to the moon, and bring him back safely to Earth? He said the will to do it. The will is one of the higher faculties. That's what Einstein was talking about. The will gives you the ability to focus on one thing to the exclusion of everything else. When you focus on that one thing, you're on that higher frequency. How do you do that? Well, first, you got to make a decision to go there. You see, your mind and thoughts must be focused on the same frequency as your goal. How do we do that? We make a committed decision. That's where I'm going. And when you make the committed decision, that's irrevocable. You cannot go back. You shut the past off. You begin thinking on this higher frequency, and you think and act like the person you want to become. Does it sound preposterous? That's what the Wright brothers did, and they introduced us to a new kingdom. That's what Sir Edmund Hillary did. I had the good fortune of working with him. He was a beekeeper from Auckland, New Zealand. He was the first person to ever climb Mount Everest. He didn't know how to get to the top of that mountain until after he got there. He trusted in the image that he held in his mind. You got to trust in the image you hold in your mind. You got to think like the person you want to become. It takes a decision to get up on that higher frequency. And the second you make the decision, everything starts to happen. Now, you got to believe you can do it. The moment your belief matches with any state, the higher frequency is the state. The moment your belief matches with any frequency, you fuse with it, and this union results in the activation, the projection of the plots and plans and conditions and circumstances. Things start to happen. Think about it. You're going to a dance, you need the new dress. You make a decision, you don't know where the money's coming from, but you've got to have the dress. You get the dress. You want that car. You make it as you get the money, you get the car. The moment your belief matches with any state, you fuse with it. And this union results in everything that happens. Now look at this new state of conscious awareness becomes your home from which you view the world. You're operating on a different frequency. Don't expect a lot of support from the people around you. They don't know what you're doing. They probably think you've gone a little crazy. But listen, in your workshop, and if you're observant, you're going to see your outer reality shaping itself upon the model of your imagination. Do you want to know the beautiful truth? This works like unadulterated magic. It does. Is what all our Proctor Gallagher Institute programs deal with. I want you to control the flow. There's thought energy flowing to and through you. It's flowing freely to and through you. Make certain it proves everything that it connects with. You've got all of this power locked up within you. Utilize it. Go after what you want. Quit going after things you already know how to get. There's no real gain in that. Don't compromise. Go after what you want. It's not that easy, but I'm going to tell you something. It sure is worthwhile. Turn decision-making into a habit. And when you do that, everything changes. See, I didn't go back to school. No formal education. I didn't gain any business experience. I made a decision and bang, away I went. And everything started to fall into place. I opened offices in different countries, in different cities. Earned all kinds of money. I had money coming to me while I was sleeping, and so can you. In fact, you turn this into a decision, you can earn more money when you're sleeping than you'll spend when you're awake. Decision, it'll change your world.
Absolutely amazing. Let me go next in here. So the one thing that obviously, the whole point of this is we're talking about obviously, so you think about decision. Matt and I, we talked about this. We never decided to go director, senior director, executive director, president. We decided to go senior presidential director. That's what we decided upon. And then the other things just went into place. Now we set dates on those specific things. We've set income dates, different things like that. But what I'm going to challenge you to do is think bigger than you ever thought before. The senior presidential director, we set that goal before the elite senior presidential director was actually even a thing. And again, that's our next goal is what we're shooting for. But when you shoot that, once again, you shoot it where you want to go, that's when things really start happening. So the one thing we're going to talk about again is the idea of what you do and how you format that. So the biggest thing that you always want to do, no more than anything else, is I'm so happy and grateful that I am blank. Once again, whatever level it is, if it's the senior presidential director and making this much money per week by, and then the date. Now again, I put in here, even from between now and the end of the year, using the example, I'm so happy and grateful that I am director, senior director, whatever, making $1,000 a week by December 31st, 2024. That's 3 weeks away. But what happens when you set a higher goal, now you start thinking at that level and things start happening. When he talked about the idea that people that wanted to buy the house, same thing when someone says, well, I set a goal for this, or I don't know why I'm not putting as many people in or whatever. I said, because you don't need those people because you set a very low goal. When you set a goal for senior presidential director, guess what happens? Leaders start joining your team. You start meeting people. God connects you to people because you set up and you make a big decision. Say, this is what I'm doing. And you set a date on it. And then again, then you start running towards it. Now the other things start happening and putting in place. So the thing that I always say is, what are the dreams and goals you want to accomplish in 2025? So I selected, I've done this for years. And so again, we coach people, we mentor people in regarding to, how to think about dreams, how to think about goals, because it's really what it is. The pecking order is there's a dream that you want. Then there's a goal. Goal is nothing more with it, but a dream with a date on it. So you pick that dream and when do you want it by? Then you put together a plan, and then you put together the actions that's going to take to hit the plan, to get the goal about the date so you can have that dream. right? So that's really what it is. So there's a great book out there called Success for Dummies. You may have heard of it, but it's written by Zig Ziglar, and the whole book is great. But again, the thing that I want to talk about today is what they call the Wheel of Success. And again, the one thing that they talk about, the Wheel of Life, sorry, the Wheel of Life, because it's not just success in one area, but it's success in all the other areas. And they talk about, is it round, meaning that you rate yourself in each of these areas. The physical, how would you rate yourself on a 1 through 10? I always say, if you're married, ask your spouse how they rate you as well. So, but family, how you rate yourself on there, your mental, financial, spiritual, career, personal, and each of these different areas. Then you start thinking about what are things you can do in each of these areas to get to the next level. He said, I'd rather have you be a 5 on each of these levels than be a 2 in the family, and you're a 6 in mental, and in financial you might be an 8 or whatever. Spiritually you might be a 9, or you might be whatever. He said you're better off having whatever, because once again it says, do you have flat spots? Do you have several spokes that need improvement? So what we do is we put together, again, a sheet, and I can share this with everybody again, that basically, but what these different areas are. And I challenge people to do at least 3 things that you want to accomplish. It's basically kind of a dream and a goal kind of matched in one. And basically, what are your top 25? What are your, once again, for family? What are the things you want to do for spiritual, for mental, for personal, for career, financial, and physical? And again, I've been working on some time, but I'm just going to screenshot just real quick what mine looks like. That's what it's going to look like, right? Those are my ones for this next year of what's going to happen. So what we start talking about, and these are, I'll just give you example of a couple different ones to give you some ideas and some things you might want to think about. So I just highlighted just, kind of one from each. Family. One of the things I said is I want every 90 days to take an exciting long weekend family trip. I should say long, say myself, it's not long. So a long family, weekend trip. So the reason I put that in there, I did that last year, and literally this last year was, so I put that in 2023 and 2024, we have actually had about 4 months of travel this year. And 5 of those trips were basically paid for by the company and by the team, which is pretty amazing. Another one that we put in, how many things I click in here? The next we put in is spiritual. So this is something I've been doing for years, but I said I'm continuing doing it, starting my day with prayer. Praise and worship, because I put on praise and worship in the first thing in the morning, because your mind gets set on what you're thinking about, or what basically draws. So if you've ever put music on, whatever the first song you put on, first or second song, it goes through your mind the whole day. So you're in that theta state, if you understand how that works. I believe that's what it is. But basically when you're in that state of mind where literally your mind's so open that you'll hear that song throughout the whole day. I still have a song in my mind from when we walked into church this morning, because I didn't put praise and worship on before we went to church, but the first song that was in church, they were actually playing before church even started. I still have that ringing through my head. The other one's mental. Only associate with winners and like-minded people. Adders and multipliers. There's 4 types of peoples. There's adders, multipliers, subtractors, and dividers. Stay away from the subtractors and definitely stay away from the dividers, but have adders and multipliers in your life. Another one is mental, daily Bible study, and read 10 pages out of a recommended book of the month. Obviously, this is a team has the book of the month, so whatever book you're reading, but a positive motivational book and a book of wisdom I usually recommend. Another one, personal, develop strong business and personal relationships. Now again, I should have a number on that. I want to have a certain amount of that, maybe 10, 12, 15 strong, very strong, personal, and business relationships, whatever that number is, people that you're very, very close to that you can work with. Again, career, another one's, elite, rank as elite SPD. This is one of the points you have down, and qualify for all of the LifeWave incentive trips. Not just some of them, but all of them. Another one is financial. Be debt-free. Pay off all debts, including the house, right? Everything. Be completely, totally debt-free. Another one is physical. Eat healthy foods. Stock house with only healthy organic foods and snacks. So that's just an example of these different ones. You come up with ones that mean something to you and start finessing it between now and the end of the year. And Lily, I recommend writing them all down, putting together that sheet and of all these different things, and start thinking about it. And then work with your spouse, or work with your some of your people on your team, and start sharing some ideas that are really passionate about. Because what happens when you have someone who's accountability partner to, it's amazing what happens. How are you doing the first week of January, second week, third week, fourth? How's it going 6 months from now, a year from now, really? All these different things. So the other things I say is to get pictures. This is a snapshot of some of the dreams that we're looking at, right? These are some of the things we want to accomplish. We got some BHAGs. We're not talking about owning a jet, but talking, private charters. That's something we want to be able to do. I'm like Steve and Gina are doing it. Hey, what the kind of money we want to make? What's it going to be? The kind of cars we want to drive, the boat, the house that we want to get, all the different stuff. LifeWave incentive trips, debt free. Other ones make just different pictures that places you want to go, or places you've been. More of that. Some people say I want a log cabin home, or whatever it is. This is a dream that I'd love to be able to do for my wife. Again, we love Paris. We love going to Italy. That's on the Amalfi Coast there. So whatever it is that you want to accomplish, that's what I recommend doing, because your drive is derived by your dream and your belief that you can have that dream. Why do I have the picture of that car? Because that's the car that I want. So again, what it is that you're looking for, whatever that picture is that you want, if it's a picture of spending time with your family, get a picture of your family and then a picture of where you want to go. Whatever it is that you want, because it'll create a drive for you. Because that drive is, once again, driven by your dream, whatever the dream is, and your belief that you can have that dream. Because we talk about, once again, once you make the decision, you start thinking on that higher plane, you start believing on that higher plane, your drive starts acting on that higher plane, and guess what happens? You start accomplishing those goals. So the last thing is here is just to let your mind dream. Take this time and think about it this week, whatever time you want to take between now and the end of the year, but set some BHAGs. And if you notice my goals, I changed it. Instead of saying goals and dreams, mine is now big, holy, audacious goals. And so it used to say big, hairy, but one of the guys in St. Louis said to me, he goes, why don't you change that from, instead of being big, hairy, audacious goals, make it big, holy, audacious goals. So I'm just going to challenge you to really dream big. Dream bigger than you've ever dreamed before, and really think about, what would you do? What would you accomplish if you knew that God was working for you and he is actually setting the plan before you, and you're limiting yourself based upon where you think you can go? Think bigger beyond where you think you could go. Because I've had people say, well, going, senior presidential director, when do you want to get it done? People are like, and like, no, it should be like that. Whatever it is that you want to do. And again, in all these other areas, because we want you to have a phenomenal family. We want you to have, great physical, mental, career, financial, all these different things that you want to be in, for yourself personally. But really think about that. Take some time, even if it's 1, 2, 3 things in each of those different areas, whatever it is. If you say, I want to lose weight, I want to be in better shape, I want to do whatever it is. I want to have more relationship. I want a better relationship with my spouse, better relationship with my kids, better relationship with my family, my brothers, sisters, whoever, all these different things make a difference on how you also perform in just life, period. And we want to live an optimal life, right? And that's really what we want to do, is teach people how to do that. So again, let your mind dream. Really think about, where would you want to be a year from now? Where do you want to be, even by the end of this year, and then where do you want to be a year from now? Because I want you to think about that and start setting some goals, and we'll help you get it done. So otherwise, we're praying for you. God bless you. Have an amazing, awesome rest of the month, and we'll be talking more about this as the month